All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is June 9th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Hey, let's go take a look at some charts today. Start off with, I was trading. Let's see what we traded here. You know what I'll do? I will, put that back where it was. Go over to my day P&L. Go over to my real P&L. Okay, so the first one I traded was, these are 0 DTE that I had left over from Friday. Okay, 601 calls. Traded those into that rally. Was looking for a breakthrough up to 601.95. Never really got it. Managed to get out of those with just a little bit of profit. It broke down. They were consolidating up here in like a wedge pattern, and then they just decided to pull back to the trend line. So there's SPY. That's on a 3-minute chart right there. Traded those calls. Traded these calls right here. These are the, see if I can move this over. Okay, these are the 4 DTE 620 calls. All right, just traded those, bought about 500 shares here at 4 cents, sold 500 shares here at 6 cents. 604 calls, 2 days till expiration, made $138 on those. Bought some calls here, sold them into the rally, reloaded into the dip, didn't really get a bounce, so I'm still holding those. Those are for like tomorrow or the next day. Got some 4 DTE 610 calls, and I just bought some the dip here into this rally up, sold some off, and then reloaded into the dip down here. Let me just, you know what? There's a few here I want to reload on. So there's 2. Let's see if I'm too late. I'm too late for that one. All right, so that's that with those. So here's my ending inventory for tomorrow. See if I can snatch that and grab it for over here. So I've got some 39 days till expiration, 635 calls, 32 days till expiration, 630 calls, 24 days till expiration, 625 calls. 625 strike, 21 days till expiration. I've got some of those, not a lot. You can see just a little bit. Kind of looking for price to continue moving higher after it consolidates over the prior consolidation. We'll see what happens. Some 11 days till expiration, 625 calls, and I've got a lot of 620 calls. 4 days till expiration. 610 calls, 4 days till expiration. 604 calls, 2 days till expiration. Got some HIMs. All right, hasn't really been working out for me. And I got some CGC, which is Cannabis Growth Corporation, for a possible pop in that. You can see the bid and the ask is well up over my entry, which is right here, 15. So I'm looking good on those. All right, let's go take a look at some charts right here. 10 minute, all right? I'm going to say 10 minutes in a downtrend. Yep, you get 10 minute in a downtrend right here on the SPY price action. You can see below the bearish trap, below the 17, below VWAP. So 10 minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart. 2 hour, we got a 2-hour uptrend still. Okay, you can see, you still see some space between that 3 EMA and the 8 EMA, so 2-hour uptrend into the close. All right, and we got on the daily chart, we'll take a look at it over here. Maybe not there. Let's try a different one. How about here? All right, so what did we get today? We got a higher low, higher high, another little doji candle, closing over the trap. over the rising 17, that's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, bullish. Up over, the uptrend line, that's bullish. Everything looking good on SPY daily chart. Let me just say, we're into the supply zone, okay? So we were up here. You can see the supply zone is about November, December. There's 2 months. January, February. All right, so there's 4 months. All right, so it's going to take us a little while to grind through all of that supply overhead, okay? Remember, we're approaching all-time highs again, okay? So what am I expecting for price action? Well, you can see the consolidation up here in this channel. I'm looking for price to move up here and consolidate on top of prior consolidation. So I'm looking for it to actually fill in this channel right through here, right in there, and consolidate on top of that, then eventually make a move higher or a pullback and then a bust out higher, okay? So that's what I'm looking for in SPY. So you can see price action, probably going to get that consolidation over prior consolidation, and that's a bullish environment. All right, so you can see price action is looking really good. Okay, you got the strategy I like to trade is the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Okay, so did we have that today? Let's take a look at that. Take that off. Go down to the 10-minute, and let's pull up the 10-minute on right here. Right there, 10-minute up there. Try the 10-minute one more time. Okay, so 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right here. Okay, so that brown line right here, that's VWAP. Okay, so we had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, and you can see price broke away up to those highs up at 601. You can see a lot of wicks up there, so there's a lot of selling. So you can see there was a tremendous amount of supply up there. Okay, usually after 6 candles, they call it a brick wall, and then they turn around and run the other way. Well, they didn't run after 6 candles. They continued to stick around. All right, you can see this dip got bought up by the bulls. This dip got bought up by the bulls. They just couldn't make it back up over the overhead supply. Chances are now, not being able to make it over overhead supply, you can see they pulled back to the trend line. Right there, there's our trend line. So chances are they're going to go pull back and test these lows right through here. So I'm looking for a test of this area right here, right around 598.50. Okay, you can see we're already at 599.50. So I'd be looking for a test of 598.50 and then a J hook or a bounce off of that area back up to the highs. Okay, over 601.10 would be my bullish entry. Green erases red for tomorrow. So there's SPY. So do we have 10-minute uptrend? Yes. Over VWAP? Yes. Inside of a 2-hour uptrend? Yes. Okay, inside of a daily uptrend? Yes. Okay, inside of a monthly uptrend? Yes. Everything inside, all over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That is one of my favorite strategies. That is an environment for success whenever you line and stack all those moving averages, those 10-minute those uptrends in those different time frames on top of each other. You'll find that those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP tend to work more often than they do fail, and you'll often see 10-minute downtrends going to fail more often than they do succeed. All right, so there's SPY. That's on the 5-minute right now. Okay, let me move this out of the way. All right, so you saw how I made the profits. You see the SPY. Let's take a look at a few other charts. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ is on a daily chart. Let's look at this. So yesterday was an inside day, and I got to zoom way in. Okay, so that looks like a higher low. So the low is 528.21. The low here is 529.01. Definitely a higher low. And I got to say, that looks like a higher high. Oh, yeah. So higher low, higher high. Closing over the bullish trap, just like SPY. Oh, that's bullish. All right, closing over the rising 17, that's bullish. Closing over the uptrend line, bullish. Closing and consolidating up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. moving up, holding the high ground, bullish. Consolidation over prior consolidation. Again, you guys know that's bullish. Okay, you've got price action making higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish. So there's QQQ daily. That's looking very bullish. Okay, SPY looking bullish. Maybe a pullback, unable to break through that overhead supply. Maybe a pullback. We'll see how deep this pullback goes. And then a run back up there and try it again. So there's QQQ on the daily chart. We're bullish on QQQ. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Okay, Diamond Dow is it's a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Closing over the rising flat 17. That's bullish. Up here in the upper third, also bullish. Over the uptrend line, over the downtrend line, bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish, making higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish, Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at IWM. Okay, IWM, higher low, breaking out, nice. Maybe the IYT is finally juicing up. Higher low, higher high, closing over the bullish trap. That's a bullish environment. Over the 17 EMA, also bullish. Over the uptrend line, bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. Not in the upper third, not in the lower third. So it's just neutral through here, making higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish. Okay, there's IWM. Let's take a look at FNGB. Okay, FNGB got looking like, see what we got here. I got to zoom way in. The low, 2120. The low, 2121. Okay, higher low, inside day, lower high. Closing over the bullish trap. That's bullish. Closing over the 17. That's bullish. Closing over the uptrend line. Bullish. Closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish. Up here in quadrant 4. Bullish. Price moves up, holds the higher ground, breaks out into the quadrant 4. That's that's bullish. All right, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. Okay, FNGB is looking good and bullish. SPY and QQQ looking good and bullish. IWM and Diamond Dow looking good and bullish. Okay, everything's looking good. It's nothing bad happening. Now we do have CPI coming out Wednesday morning at 8:30. That could throw a wrench in the works. We'll see what happens. We also have U.S.-China trade negotiations happening in London. I think it's today or tomorrow. We'll find out what kind of news we got from that, or if it already came out. We'll take a peek at that. But so far, the market is bullish. All right, so far. Everything is looking good. All right, T21.22. You can see today's the 9th. So we spent our day, we got knocked out of the overbought zone, spent our day meandering around inside the buy zone. Not a bad place to hang out, okay? We even wandered into the overbought zone and the bears threw us out there. T21.23. Look at this. Gap up. Hey, anytime you guys see a gap up that's not filled by the bears, that is a bullish environment. Look at you. Look at Friday's price action. Gap up, not filled by the bears. That's a bullish environment. Okay, so that, I mean, look at this. New high. This is like new high almost every single day for this rally. Okay, got a new high. New high. New high. New high. New high. I mean, new high. New high. All right, every single day. Look, this rally's making new highs. Okay, the bulls. Look, it's bullish until it's not. Okay, every time you see green erases red, that could be an opportunity for you. We are in an environment where we have 10-minute uptrends that are tradable, all right, inside of 2-hour uptrends, inside of daily uptrends, and they're actually inside of weekly downtrend, but let me just say the weeklies are not moving down. In the weekly downtrend but not moving down, weekly candles that are moving up, and inside of monthly uptrends, and all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? Anytime you see price over all-time high anchored VWAP, all-time high anchored VWAP represents the price that securities should be selling for, okay? because it's the average. All right? But no. Institutions are willing to pay more than the average. Okay? Telling me they believe it's worth much, much more. So we'll see where it goes, all right? Everything's bullish. It's bullish until it's not. You can have a healthy pullback, all right? But on these 17 EMAs, okay, if we're not underneath these 17 EMAs, in my eyes, okay, if we're not underneath these 17s, all right, this trend is still alive. It's still alive if it's over the 17. All right, so we can have pullbacks. See, here's a pullback to the 17, another pullback to the 17. Look, pullback to the 17, rip makes a higher high in that rally. Okay, a little pullback to the 17, rip makes a higher high in the rally. Pullback to the 17, rip makes a higher high in the rally. The rally would be from this low up to this high. See the pullback to the 17, rip, make a new high. Pull back to the 17, rip, make a new high. 17, rip, make a new high. Okay, as long as they don't break the 17, okay, we're looking good. Again, we're bullish until we're not. Okay, so there's FNGB. That represents the market pretty much, being since that's the 10 of the most heavily weighted securities inside the QQQ and the SPY. All right, let's go take a look at a few sectors. All right, a few sectors here. Let's start with, we'll use this one, and we'll start with XLE. All right, XLE got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. Both of that is bullish. Still caught underneath, okay? Downtrend line 1, that's bearish. Downtrend line 2, that's still bearish. Okay, so far this high, they have not been able to take out this high. They're just struggling with that high. It's been a while since they've really moved up and challenged that high up there. They're in an uptrend. Problem is they're just not moving up. They're struggling here. Okay, price action caught underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line right there. The good news, they're not in the lower third. That would have been bearish if they were, but they're not. So that makes them neutral. They're not in the upper third. They could have been bullish, but they're not because they're not in the upper third. So there's XLE. In an uptrend, just not moving up in the neutral zone right now. And on the bearish side of the neutral zone. Let's take a look at a few other things. Take a look at USO. All right, USO, higher low, higher high, over the trap, that's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish. Attacking the downtrend line, that's bullish, but still under it. Okay, so that's bearish. Over this 3-year high, no, under this 3-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, so that's bearish. But let me just say, no, they're over it. And attacking it, so they're over that, that's bullish. Okay, they're underneath the midpoint. They're making excuse me, higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish. All right. They're just not in the lower third. They're not in the upper third. So they're just neutral, exhibiting some bullish environment, okay, or bullish behavior, or bullish characteristics, bullish action. Okay, so that's USO. Take a look at UNG. Okay, UNG, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bullish trap underneath the 17. All of that is bearish. Underneath the downtrend line, that's bearish. Underneath this 12-month high anchored VWAP, also bearish. That's not a very big high. It's not a very big bar to set. Okay, you can see the all-time high is way up here. We're only doing the 12-month high. If they manage to get over it, it's no big feat. All right, so price action still in a downtrend till they take out this high. Still caught underneath the downtrend line. Up over the uptrend line, that's good. Not in the lower third, so that's neutral. Not in the upper third, so it's neutral. All right, so there's UNG in a downtrend, moving to the right in a bear pennant flag. Okay, UNG. Let's take a look at precious metals. Gold looking like an inside day today. Okay, closing, and maybe not. The low is 305.10. The low is 305.06. Lower high, lower low. Closing under the bearish trap, but over the 17. Under the trap is under the bullish trap is bearish. Over the 17 is bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP is bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up over the uptrend line, also bullish. Moving up, holding that higher ground, that's bullish. Anytime you see price, okay, move up like this and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. See it? Move up and hold the higher ground. That's bullish up there. Okay? That's bullish. All right, so there's some GLD. That's bullish. I got to go visit T23 and TFNGB. All right, so there's gold. That's bullish and in an uptrend making higher lows and higher highs. Let's take a look at SLV. Now, SLV put in a new 12-year high right there. Okay, higher low, higher high over the trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, rising 17, that's bullish. Over this 12-year high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. This is the, I don't know what that is, that the 12, yeah, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. This pink line right here. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's so far back. It's, well, let me just say, it's been a while since we were over it. All right, but you can see how far back that is. You can see for roughly 8 years we were underneath that all-time high anchored VWAP. Then we managed to play around with it in 2020 with COVID, 2021, at post-COVID, 2022, post-COVID, and ever since then we have not been back up there. So there's silver, okay, on the daily chart. Okay, it's in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, it's making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend, and that's also bullish. Silver looking good. All right, let's take a look at. Let's just go ahead and do SMH. SMH up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Closing over the trap, over the 17. Those are both bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. Showing an inverse head and shoulders right there. It could be bullish. Almost breaking the neckline there, really. SMH bullish. Okay, over up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Look at price action. Higher lows, higher highs, that's an uptrend. Moving up, holding that higher ground, that's bullish. XLK. XLK, same thing, okay? Dangerously close to taking out the all-time highs. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. Over the 17, all of that is bullish. Over the uptrend line, bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, bullish. Approaching this brick of price action up here. Okay, so I don't know how far they get with it. I'll bet they do spike it and put in a new all-time high. Whether they can get on top of it and consolidate will be interesting. But that is a long, it's like a 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 month brick of consolidation that price is trying to grind through on XLK. That's a technology sector. That's all bullish, by the way. Okay, price moving up, holding the higher ground, bullish. Over in quadrant 4, bullish. All right, closing with a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap, that's bullish. Over the 17 EMA, that's bullish. Over this all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. Quadrant 4, bullish, holding the higher ground. Everything looking good. Higher lows, higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's bullish. XLF, bullish. XLK, bullish. Last one's the problem child here. Okay, so, but it's finally waking up. Okay, so what do we got? We've got IYT's in an uptrend because they made a higher high right here. See that high? They finally made a higher high. They got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish over the 17, bullish over the uptrend line, also bullish. Knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Moving up, consolidating, holding the higher ground. All of that is bullish, just not in the upper third yet. Okay, not quite ready, but moving in that direction. Not in the lower third, not in the upper third. So that's just neutral through there. Not to say it won't have some bullish behavior. Let's take a look at T2123. You can see, I think I did go through this. Bullish gap ups, making new highs. 3-bar chart. I don't think I did the 3-bar chart. Okay, you got bullish gaps not getting filled by the bears. That's a bullish environment. Anytime you see the 15-minute, okay, up over the red 200 SMA, or the 3-bar up over the red 200 SMA, that's a bullish environment. Busting through those prior all-time high, that's a bullish environment. Moving up, holding the higher ground, also a bullish environment. T2123, making higher highs. There's a high. You can obviously see we're up way over that. That's a higher high. That's a bullish environment. Let's take a look at FNGB. You can see price action here. We got some buying and then some selling, and we got caught underneath VWAP. But look at price. It's moving up and it's holding the higher ground. Okay, that's bullish. Okay, for right now. Maybe they're rolling over, but you got some consolidation here. Okay, up over prior consolidation over here. That's a bullish environment. Okay, up over the 200 SMA. That's also bullish. Anytime you can look back and see some bullish gap ups that weren't filled by the bears, that's a bullish environment. I think we have one right here. Bullish gap up, not filled by the bears. Okay, so FNGB looking good right there. All right, that's it for me for today. All right, everybody have a beautiful evening. I'll see you all tomorrow at 8. Again, 10-minute uptrends, inside 2-hour uptrends. Thanks, Alan. Inside of daily uptrends, inside of weekly candles that are moving up because they're still in a downtrend. Inside of monthly uptrends, all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay? That's a recipe for success right there. This is a rare opportunity. Okay? This is the time to to rake in the dough, rake in the hay. This is it right now. This is looking good. We could get climactic or hyperbolic. And I'm saying that only because, all right, on this monthly chart for SPY, okay, see this big tail down? See this big tail down? What happens on the bottom side, what happens on one side often happens on the other. So it's very possible we get this big wick up. All right? So what happens on this side, oftentimes, it doesn't have to. It's not like there's a law that's what will happen. But I'm just saying, oftentimes, what happens on one direction happens in the other. I would not doubt it if price rips up and puts in a nice big wick up here, up to 560. Okay, if that day comes, don't get in front of it. All right? The best thing you can do is step back, kill every put you got, all right? Drill down to a 3-minute chart and find a red candle that's erased by a green one and jump in. Okay? When that day comes. All right? It's not here yet, but I really think that day's going to come. Okay, and I'm saying, don't get in front of it with puts. All right, you'll get run over. You really will. All right, just step back, Click down a couple time frames and find that green erases red entry and jump in on one of those. It'll run for much further. When you think it's the top, it'll go for another $10. Okay, sometimes. I'm just saying, be prepared for that. And I think that day is quickly approaching. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm looking for SPY to consolidate over prior consolidation. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Consolidate over prior consolidation, which you can see some of that's kind of happening through here. Okay, you got this consolidate. You got to see a brick of candles up here over a brick of candles down here. That's a bullish environment. All right, and eventually this is going to like pull back and then rip really hard to the upside. That's what I believe. We'll see what happens. All right, until tomorrow, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's set it up. Let's do it again. All right? Everybody have a beautiful evening.